But there's something even more unsettling about all of this. Because when you start doing these things, it's not just toxic people who react. Everyone does. At first, people won't say anything. They'll just notice. You reply less. You explain less. You tolerate less. And that shift feels different. Because most relationships are built on patterns, unspoken roles, unspoken expectations. Who gives? Who takes? Who apologizes first? Who keeps the peace? And the moment you step out of that role, you break the script. And when the script breaks, people reveal themselves. Some will adjust. They'll respect your boundaries. They'll meet you where you are. Those people, you keep. But others, they'll push harder, test you more, try new angles. Because they're not reacting to your words, they're reacting to the loss of access. And this is where most people get uncomfortable. Because when you change, you will be misunderstood. They'll say you've changed, and they're right, but not in the way they mean. You didn't become cold, you became clear. You didn't become distant, you became selective. You didn't become difficult, you became unavailable for dysfunction. But to someone who benefited from the old version of you, that feels like rejection. So they'll try to pull you back, subtly at first. Why are you acting like this? You used to be different. You've changed. And here's the moment that matters most. Because how you respond right here determines whether you move forward or fall back into the same cycle. You don't explain. You don't defend. You don't try to make them understand. Because the truth is, they already understand. They just don't like it. And explaining yourself to someone who benefits from misunderstanding you is how you lose your power. So instead, you stay consistent, calm, unmoved. And this leads to something most people never expect. Silence starts doing the work for you. You don't need to call out every manipulation. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to prove anything. Because over time, your behavior becomes the message. You stop reacting, they stop provoking. You stop explaining, they stop asking. You stop engaging, they stop trying. Not because they grew, but because they can't reach you anymore. And this is where it shifts from strategy to identity. Because at the beginning, these behaviors feel intentional. You have to think about them, remind yourself, catch yourself before reacting. But over time, they become automatic. You don't have to try to stay calm, you just are. You don't have to remind yourself to set boundaries, they're already there. You don't have to force distance. You naturally choose it when something feels off. And this is the real transformation. You stop asking, how do I deal with toxic people? And you start becoming someone toxic people can't deal with. Now here's the part nobody talks about, and you need to hear this. There will be moments where you doubt yourself, moments where you wonder, am I being too cold? Am I overreacting? Should I just let this go? Because you've been conditioned to prioritize harmony over truth, comfort over clarity. So when you finally choose yourself, it feels unfamiliar, even wrong. But let me make something clear. Self-respect will always feel uncomfortable to the version of you that was used to being overlooked. That discomfort, it's not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're doing something different. And different is what breaks patterns. Now let's go one level deeper, because there's one final shift that makes all of this permanent. You stop trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. Read that carefully. Not everyone is confused. Some people are choosing to not understand, because understanding you would require them to change. And when you accept that, you stop wasting energy. You stop over-explaining. You stop over-giving. You stop overthinking. And you start observing, quietly, clearly, without attachment. You notice who respects your time, who respects your boundaries, who respects your silence, and you adjust accordingly. No drama, no announcements, no warnings, just quiet decisions. And those quiet decisions, they change your entire life because the people who remain are no longer there by accident. They're there because they can exist in a space where control doesn't work, where manipulation doesn't land, where respect is the baseline. And that space, that's peace. Not the fake kind, not the everything is perfect kind, the real kind, where you don't feel the need to constantly defend your energy, explain your choices, or manage other people's emotions. And once you experience that, you don't go back. So if people start disappearing after this, let them, because you didn't lose them. You lost the version of yourself that kept them there. And that's not a loss, that's alignment. So now I'll ask you something simple, and I want you to actually think about it. Which one of these are you avoiding the most? Not the easiest one, not the one you already do, the one you know would change everything if you actually committed to it. Start there. Stay consistent. Say less, observe more. Because in the end, you don't need to control people. You just need to become someone they can no longer control. And once that happens, everything else takes care of itself.